The following is a special video presentation from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. You are watching RJ Debates 2020. Here is your host, Steve Sebelius.
Welcome to RJ Debates 2020. We're talking with candidates up and down the ballot for judicial races. Tonight, we're going to be hearing from candidates for Family Court Department Z. That's a new seat. There is no incumbent. Our challengers are Michelle Mercer. She's an attorney in private practice, focusing almost entirely on family law. She's also been a pro tem hearing master in the family court. Romeo Perez, also an attorney in private practice, whose cases include family law as well as criminal law and personal injury law. We'll begin with opening statements from our candidates. We go in alphabetical order at the beginning. So Michelle Mercer, you go first.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much to you and to the Las Vegas Review-Journal for the opportunity to speaking to the voters. And I would also like to thank the voters for voting for me in the primary. We won by a large margin, but we still need your help for the November election. And so I'll need everybody to go out and vote and tell all of your family and friends to vote for Shell Mercer. I am uniquely qualified to serve as a family court judge for Clark County. I have been a pro tem hearing master for the past 11 years, where I've presided over 4,000 hearings in the family court, including judicial delinquency, judicial dependency, drug court, domestic violence, child support, civil commitments, and discovery. And I am the only candidate with actual experience as a judge, so please vote for me.
Thank you very much. Mr. Perez, your opening statement.
Thanks, Steve. And I also want to thank the Review-Journal for giving us a chance to talk to the voters of Clark County. It's a different time, and we're not out shaking hands. I'm Romeo Perez, and I'm running to serve as your first family court judge in Department Z. My wife, Deborah, and I moved from South Texas 17 years ago and made Nevada our home. And since that time, we welcomed 2 kids and a dog I never really thought I'd like. I enjoy volunteering at charities, my kids' school, and basically anywhere my wife tells me. I've practiced primarily in family law for over 22 years. And as my clients' needs grew, so did my practice. I've helped my clients with their personal injury cases and their criminal cases. It's important to have a judge who not only understands family law, also understands where families are coming from and from the problems that families face. I'm the most qualified because of the diversity of my experience and my years of practice in front of the court. And I'm prepared to take that experience to the bench in Department Z. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Well, let's start with a philosophical question. And Mr. Perez, this was going to go to you first, and that's this. Describe your judicial philosophy in plain English to the voters.
Very simple. You've got to follow the law. Judges are harnessed by the law. We have to follow the rules that have been given to us. However, it's how do you let people know the law from the bench? In other words, how do you explain to the litigants in front of you the decisions that you have to let people know not only what the decision is, but why you're making that decision so that people can get closure. I think it's important for people to understand the process and to understand that they are what they're getting and why they're getting it, so that people walk out of the courtroom thinking, I don't necessarily agree, or I do agree, but I know why he made that decision. And that's really important, because I have so many clients who've walked out saying, man, the judge didn't listen, judge doesn't care. That's not always true. But the fact is that we've got less time, and I would be willing to time in order to make them feel heard and give them closure.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Ms. Mercer, your judicial philosophy in plain English.
In plain English, my judicial philosophy is access to justice. I think that it's very important for the family court judge, and all judges actually, to remember that the courts exist to serve the people. The courtroom and the robe are property of the taxpayers. It's as if I am applying for a job and I would like for you to hire me to work for you. And I think it's very important for the judge to remember that and to know that it is the taxpayers who are paying their salary. So I want to be there to serve the taxpayers, to serve the people who are in the courtroom, and listen carefully to what they're going through and make the absolute best decision that I can. I think it's also important to make sure that I'm available for them and they're not always waiting on me.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your answers to that. You both have been attorneys in private practice. You both represented clients. You're both used to going in as an advocate. What difficulties do you think you're going to face switching from the role of an advocate to the role of being a neutral, impartial judge? Ms. Mercer, you take that question first.
Thank you. I don't think I'll have difficulty at all switching to the role of a judge. I've been on the bench for 11 years, appearing in front of parties, litigants in the family court, over 4,000 hearings already. I'm not going to have any trouble at all. I believe that that's what I'm made for, actually. So I don't see a problem whatsoever. In fact, I think that that's I'm going to be better at doing that, because the judge has to see things neutrally from both sides, and I'm very good at that, actually. So I don't expect to have a large learning curve in that capacity.
All right, Mr. Perez, do you think you'll have a difficulty going? You've represented clients for so many years. Is it going to be hard if you get elected to become a neutral judge?
No, it won't be hard to be a neutral judge. And I'll tell you, the best thing that Clark County has in me is that I've represented a lot of those sides. I've argued both sides of cases. I've analyzed and put on trials for both sides of the cases. And I think that's really important, to not only be able to say, well, I can see from a judge point of view, this is happening or this is happening. I've made those arguments. I have, sometimes they're great arguments, sometimes they're terrible arguments, but they're arguments because people want their story heard. And I have told that story for 22 years. So I know what's going to be coming to me from the bench. I know where the stories are coming from, what people are wanting to tell me, because they just want me to know. They just want to tell their story. And at the end of the day, I'm going to make a ruling based on the law and what's right for this family. When that family can't make their own decisions, I will make that decision for them.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. We're going to take a brief break, but we'll be back with questions and answers for candidates for Family Court Department Z right after this.
All your listeners and followers, the best name of any podcast in the world is podcast.
Nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever faked
Not that we
their
know
death.
of.
No.
When you work with Prince, you got to get used to the fact that he changes musicians like underwear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Tom Brady.
Who?
And Tom Brady, he's a quarterback in the Boston area.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Get ready for every Raiders game with us. Vegas Nation Game Day will give you everything you need to know about each week's matchup.
I'm excited.
Sundays at 9 a.m. starting in September on YourView. Vegas Nation Game Day coming this September.
Welcome back to RJ Debates 2020, where we're talking with candidates for Family Court Department Z. Let me ask this question, and Mr. Perez, this you get to handle this one first. If you could change one thing about family court, the way it operates, the procedures, anything about it, what one thing would that be?
The one thing I think that we've been able to see through this pandemic is timing. So many times I've sat with my clients in the hallway for a 9 o'clock hearing that doesn't get called until 10 o'clock or 10:30. In this pandemic, we've gone to this electronic hearings, and I've done a couple of electronic trials already where we've had to put on evidence over video, where we've had to learn how to share screens, where we've learned how to work with witnesses on video. And then I've also done the motion hearings where we wait, and I think that works so well I think we've really, I mean, those rules have always been there. We can always use blue jeans. The fact is that we're now using it because we have to. And I think it works out better for clients because it's less expensive, because we don't charge for travel time to drive down. We can sit in our office and do other things while we're waiting for the hearing, and the client can be sitting next to us, and we can be talking about the case or doing some other things while we wait. So it's not as big of a time waste waiting in the hallway. So I think that time is a big deal. And I also think that
actually, I'm sorry, you're at time with that.
There you go.
Ms. Mercer, your thought, what one thing would you change about family court if you had the opportunity?
Well, I couldn't agree more with Romeo on that. I've loved having these video conference hearings so that we can save the clients a lot of money. The other thing that I would add is I can't tell you how many times after representing clients, and again, I have also been representing clients for 22 years as a practicing lawyer, primarily in family law, that the number of times that as soon as the hearing is over, we'll go out in the hall and discuss what happened. And then the attorneys and the parties realize, oh, the judge didn't address this issue, or well, we'd like some more clarification. I understood this and you understood that. So trying to get back into court. So I would make court more accessible. I want to be available by video conference more additional times rather than having to file a full-on motion, which costs people a fortune, and just be able to have telephonic hearings, or just to be able to get the judge on the line and clarify some things much quicker to get some resolution for these people.
Okay, I appreciate that. Miss Mercer, this question is to you. Is there a case that you have been involved with, or an issue or a client that you represented, where you look back and you wish you could have a do-over, that you would do something different than you did the first time around?
Yes, absolutely. I think I think people wouldn't be very truthful if they said otherwise. But yes, absolutely. There's absolutely. I guess I could tell you about it. There was a case, that first one that pops into my mind. I was doing a trial for a woman who lived in Canada, and her ex-husband, lived here in Clark County, and there was a dispute over custody of their at the time 5-year-old son, and I wish I had subpoenaed his ex-wife. Actually, it was his current wife at the time, but I knew I had found some domestic violence documentation where there was trouble in their marriage, and so I wish that I had subpoenaed her. I relied on the other side's documentation that they had identified her as a witness and had called her as a witness in the first trial, because we had 2 trials several years apart, and I wish that I had subpoenaed her the second time around, because that would have been very beneficial to my case. So I regret that.
All right. Mr. Perez, the same question to you. Do you have a case or a situation that you regret, you look back and you say, well, I wish I could have done that differently?
Sure, and I agree with Shell. I mean, we've all got those cases that you think, man, I could have gone left instead of right. I think the best thing that I do in my office, after every trial, we come back to the office and we talk about what happened. Where could we have done better? Should we have had a document? Should we have called a witness? Is there a question that we missed? I think it's very important to always go over your cases to make sure that you knew where the gaps were, so that you don't make those mistakes in the future. And that's really what we worry about, is how do we keep that from happening? It's the practice of law, which means we're practicing. That means that we're always trying to get better. That means that the best thing that we can do for our clients is to know what we didn't do for our last client and go forward and get that corrected and do better every time we go to trial. So that's regrets. I've had a few. Too few to mention.
On that note, we will go to our next break. We'll be right back with questions and answers for candidates for Family Court Department Z right after this.
The Vegas Nation podcast is your source for all your Las Vegas Raiders news. Subscribe and get fast takes and smart coverage. Download the Vegas Nation app, check out vegasnation.com, and stay up to date with your Las Vegas Raiders.
Alexa, play my flash briefing.
Here's what's new in today's news.
Stay in the loop of the latest information in the Las Vegas Valley with the Las Vegas Review Journal Flash Briefing. Every day, we will provide you with everything you need to know in news, business, weather, entertainment, and sports. Go to the Alexa app and search LVRJ News Briefing. Then say, Alexa, play my flash briefing to hear 3 minutes of the most important information in Las Vegas.
Welcome back to RJ Debates 2020. We're speaking with candidates for Family Court Department Z. This next question is for Mr. Perez. First, what accomplishment in your legal career are you the most proud of?
I'll tell you, there are a couple of them. One, I took on a case for some people who were injured in a dispute, and even though it was a union dispute, the union contract said that you had to go through mediation, through arbitration, through the Labor Relations Board. And I said, no, they were injured as a result of the intentional conduct of the people at work. So that's not covered. So we took that case to federal court. We lost in federal court. I took it on appeal to the appellate court. We won. Not only did we win, but it knocked it all the way back down to state court, where we were able to resolve the case with a favorable resolution for my clients. It took a long time, but I'm very proud of that because we worked hard because it wasn't right to get beat up at work. That's an important case that I'm very proud of, and it's a published decision in the appeals court.
All right, sounds good. Ms. Mercer, what about you? What are you proudest of in your legal career, your accomplishments?
Well, I have several that I'm very proud of, very happy about. One of them was it was a relocation case. A mom was from Florida. I represented the father who lived here, and they had a child together. And the mom voluntarily moved here to Las Vegas, which is where she was originally from. And so I immediately was able to file for joint physical custody so that dad could finally get to spend a lot more time with his daughter. And so we were able to accomplish that for him. Very happy. And then mom did not like that. And so she decided she would relocate back to Florida where she came from. And so we opposed that motion for her to relocate with the child back to Florida. And the judge let her go, which was very sad, but we kept close monitoring on what was going on there in Florida. And because of some shenanigans and some nonsense, some things in the news, we were able to get the child brought back here to Nevada, where dad now has primary physical custody, where it's the way it should be. So I'm very happy about that.
Wow. All right. Let me ask this, and Ms. Mercer, this question is to you first. Do you think private judging companies such as judicial arbitration and mediation services should ever have any role in the family court?
Yes, I do. I believe that with the onset of 6 more courts for the family court, it will help reduce the backlog tremendously that are facing the family courts right now. But I think that any other means that parties would like to try to resolve their cases to get quicker resolution, I think that would be absolutely appropriate. It's always concerning when you have somebody sitting on the bench in a black robe who does not know as much about your family and your children as you do. And yet that person is going to be making very serious decisions about your family. So it's always better if the parties are able to reach some kind of a resolution themselves to try to work out their own deal on how they want to proceed and resolve their cases. But ultimately, I'm there and available to resolve their cases if they're just not able to reach resolution.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Perez, the same question. Do you think those private judging companies have any role in the courts?
I absolutely agree. They have a place for people who can afford to do that. And that I've done the private mediations where parties come together and the same rules generally apply. Would you get to do some discovery, you get to ask questions, and you get to go forward with some type of an agreement or mediation or an arbitration. And that's great for people who can afford it. But the reason we've added 6 new departments in family court is because our family court judges are overwhelmed by people who cannot afford the private services and who still need their cases heard. Right now, the filing fees are about $300 a party, and that is way less expensive than a private judge. So what we need to do is work on making our public judges, our family court judges, better and better to serve the people who come into court looking for us to make those decisions.
All right, thank you very much, sir. There's more Family Court Department Z debate just ahead, so stay with us.
With so much excitement building around the Raiders and their inaugural season in Las Vegas, the fans want to be heard. The launch of Vegas Nation Fan Zone is their answer. That's right, Raiders fans can sound off on all things Raiders, from players to coaches to even the new Allegiant Stadium. Vegas Nation Fan Zone is accessible 24/7 and allows fans to generate and upload their own posts for lively interaction. Simply go to fanzone.vegasnation.com to sign up today.
Welcome back to RJ Debates 2020. We've come to the part of our debate where we hear closing statements from the candidate. We're going to go in reverse order than we did at the beginning. So, Mr. Perez, your closing statement with 1 minute.
Thank you, Steve. Candidly, things are really hard right now. Business is difficult. The economy is rough. Parenting is challenging. Nobody likes the new normal. So voting for family court judge is definitely not one of those things that's on your list of important things. But it should be, because family court is the most important thing that you could vote on this time. Because family court deals with the most personal of issues for a family. It deals with your marriage. It deals with your assets. It deals with your retirement and dividing up your business. It deals with your children in your custody and your child support. It deals with juvenile justice, where the kids get involved with the crime. It involves grandparents' rights. These are the most personal issues that people can go to court for. I have practiced in each of those areas of law, and it's important that I am ready on day one to take the bench and deal with those issues over and over again, because when family matters, experience counts. When you vote, remember me in Department Z, and that's Department Z as in Perez. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Ms. Mercer, your closing statement.
Thank you. I'm passionate about serving Clark County families and children, and I care very much about the people who live in our community, and I think that's an essential quality for a family court judge. I've done all of those things that Romeo just mentioned. I've practiced law for 22 years, primarily in the area of family law, and I've done all of those things. And I also have actual experience as a judge, having appeared in front of over 4,000 hearings in Clark County. So I won the primary by a large margin, and I also have been endorsed by the police, the Public Safety Alliance, all the police entities, and as well as the Review Journal, which I'm grateful for, and the Southern Nevada Central Labor Council. And I'm very grateful for these endorsements, and I would very much appreciate your vote in the general election for Shell Mercer. Thank you very much.
Thank you both very much for participating in tonight's debate. That's all the time we have for tonight. You can stay up to date on all the 2020 political news on our website. That's www.reviewjournal.com. Join us next time as we continue our judicial debate series. Until then, for the Las Vegas Review Journal, I'm Steve Sebelius.